I always get you talking about something, don't I? I always get you talking about something, don't I? Well, hello, you hear that gossip bell ringing, don't you? Don't you? That means I give them something worth knowing.
In episode 1, when I'd stated that it was my intent to craft a culture, a genre, and a society for a caliber of women cut from the same cloth as I was talking energetic fiber. I'd always known I was a different figure. How the life I practiced and processed seemed to deviate from the others. This was something that got me either through 1, envy, 2, genuine confusion, or 3, awe. Still in awe, looked upon funny. So I'd go about the world suppressing myself, looking for small ways to blend. But by 2009, I began to stop caring about what appeared as comedy in the eyes of others.
Sitting with my hands in my drawers while I'm illustrating. I'm the creation of some shit you never heard of. Treating trick bitches to screams and bloody murder. Kinda absurd, lioness among slams. No funny sound, no one rhyming, but there was hot damn. Better make sure your daughter got a flu shot. Sick bitch, got these hoes vomiting like junkies up in detail.
The truth of the matter was, I no longer held the capacity to care, as I developed a pulsating need to assemble into a total gem of clarity the embodied essence of the wholeness of my being. For far too long, I'd been living in a ball of confusion regarding the contradictory elements that appeared as the truth of me. My question now was, how was I to live in both my sophistication and my street? Culturally, artistically, and authentically. And now naturally one may ponder, what precisely drove me to this meditation on balance? Well. Fun fact, betwixt the demise of Honey in the Bank, before the inception of the dolls, I'd fallen into a sacred cove of an experience laden with treasure. This was a moment that would begin calling into restoration critical core elements of my personhood that had been either 1, suppressed, or 2, forgotten. It also simultaneously gifted me unknown fragments of self that I never considered. High Society was a conceptual holdover from my days in Honey in the Bank. It was designed to bring into connection and celebrate imaginative, expressive, and artistic women in our highest and most exalted form, creator. It materialized as a short-lived collaboration betwixt myself and the 2 women who hold me up during my depressive collapse post-Honey in the Bank. Priscilla, the twinkling and social wildflower baby sister whom I'd adopted in high school, and then the Mary Kate to my Ashley, Amina, a true-to-life art of living practitioner who'd reflect back to me pieces of myself that I'd forgotten and others that I'd yet to discover. It was she who would single-handedly contribute to the expanse of my feminized vision. This moment was a consciousness clarifier. It began awakening me to the fact that whilst in Honey in the Bank, I'd been in many ways fragmenting myself to merely match the glossy street container I'd been occupying, one which was built upon enriching masculinity and shadow. But this moment rose in symmetry, rekindling my light whilst reintroducing me to cultivation, revitalizing in full force the feminine within me. I'd leave a 9-month stint of this experience and give birth to a new embodiment of self and a new vision for existing, one which brought to the fore of my artistic consciousness the importance of the divine art of living. A practitioner was rising. By the time the portal closed on this experience, I'd invited in far too much of myself to go back now and pretend. Just the same, I had to do the one thing that had been beckoning to me, but I'd been attempting at all costs to avoid. It was time that I accepted the call of the dreaded blessing in disguise. I had to return to the source. Whilst Honey in the Bank seemingly gave me permission to take my play with the music seriously, High Society encouraged me to treat my play with the hyper-feminized lifestyle as a profound and serious matter, making the key elements of my world now 1, music, 2, blogging, and 3, lifestyle cultivation. All mine from the labyrinth of my internal landscape plus the poetry of my nonfiction adventures and experiences. By the time I returned back to the source, permission was no longer a thing I sought. Here's where I began to embody boldness in earnest, shattering any ideas of suppression and ascending fully into my individuality. This is where my own style of energy work began to take form. Its startup mode was this. I was Billie Holiday in my solitude, bathing in the waters of rebirth, morphing my living quarters in my parents' suburban home into Jewel Box 1, a private sanctuary meets intimate salon focused on the arts and the art of living well from the inside out. Soon, the art of being darling began sprouting from me like a second wing. Initially, I'd gone by Bonnie Darling. It was through my next portal, whose opening I've been pondering, that the two names would be rearranged by a past mirroring connection. But in the meantime, I cut my hair with my own hands, freeing myself of the dead ends of my past. I began practicing the art of purging my world of everything that felt stagnant, toxic, or stale, be it physical or etheric. I began dressing with a softer edge, a darling love supreme my aesthetic. I shed unnecessary contacts, tightening my circle. I staged MacBook photo shoots and began again writing and recording. And of course, communing with who and what at that time was my primary collective, the dolls.
Well, what you talking? I'm talking about it, die whatever, for the worse or for the better. If I'm feeling kinda stony, will we set it all together, Just think about it, It's just a question. And if nobody understands me, would you still call me your family? Give me food if I am famished.
I gave myself over to every expressive whim that made itself felt, allowing myself to not have any of the answers, but rather to just dwell in the mystery and mystification of one singular question. Where is this all headed? I dove into literature, devouring among other texts Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, which found me at the proper time, and the entirety of Maya Angelou's autobiographical set. I'd give copious hours to speaking aloud to the universe and journaling practices. I lived for Tumblr blogs, classic Hollywood film, and began studying art and tarot. But my most profound practice was sitting betwixt silence and loud jazz records, calling new clefs and keys to join the symphony of my life's notation. I found new rhythm in my motion and more importantly revisited varying portions of my path in the past, more particularly the parts where I stumbled. I was determined to transmute even the ugliest shadows on my walls into gems for my journey ahead. I knew I had a long way to travel and much ground to cover, but for now, I squeezed every drop of juice from this moment in time and bathed in it. This became the pool of my baptism, my private religion. I discovered myself for the first time and in some ways again, in the waves and rhythms of the arts and the ritualized practice of consuming with intention and creating with inspired momentum. This is how I became. Step 2 on how to be Darling Bonnie. With thy own 2 hands assemble thyself into an embodied expression of your core multitudes. And to that essential self be infinitely devout and unwaveringly true. This was my education in learning who I am beyond familial programming, societal structuring, and parental expectations. I had to dare to follow and flow only with that which pulsated from within and that which held resonance on the out, never minding the thoughts, beliefs, or actions of anyone or anything outside of that which felt like a party to the chorus of my private hymn ascending. Be damned the eyes of awe, confusion, or envy. And in the midst of all this, I'd oft contemplate, what now? And what's next? And then Priscilla called. Come to LA, she requested.